Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hanging Out with Nolan Hong. And joining us this week on the podcast, of course, as always, is my trusty co-host, Emmett. But he's especially excited for our next guest because she has actually been really instrumental in helping us connect with him and as well as his sister, Natto. She is a pet communicator, and we got to get introduced to her through a mutual friend of a friend, so to speak. So Jamie's friend Michelle had been talking to Jamie, and Jamie was saying how we're having trouble, trying to understand if something's wrong with Natto because she had been acting really strange and like almost hyperventilating at random times and clawing at me and stuff. And so Michelle said, "Oh, I had a friend that had this wonderful reading from a pet communicator. She's really fantastic. You should check her out." And so we did, and she was wonderful. And in working with her, I was just so tickled by just how interesting her story was just in the brief moments that we got to talk during our session that I wanted to have her on the podcast. And thankfully she said yes. So she is joining us today on the podcast. Her company is Connect with Keao, and you can find her online, connectwithkao.com. Ladies and gentlemen, our pet communicator friend, Keao. Welcome, Keao.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and the crowd goes wild.
I love it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you,
Oh, thank you so
Nolan.
much for doing this. You were mentioning before we went on air that, today's your day off, but it's actually you reserve it for emergencies. And I
I
thought
do.
that's so neat because I didn't think about that. But yeah, especially when it deals with pets. Like it's not like we can know in advance, like, hey, I need to communicate, you know, 3 weeks in advance. There's times when something comes up and
hmm
they really need to jump on the phone with you. So tell me, how how did you come to finding this skill and gift of yours? Because I know I saw briefly a little bit of your story on your website, but I was like, oh no, I don't want to read this because I want to talk about this. But it was so interesting. How did you come to find and discover this gift of yours?
So, when I was young, I thought everybody saw the way that I did and received images. And I knew when I was 9 years old that I had a gift. And getting older, realizing not everybody saw like me, I shut it down. And that's what happens a lot with children. Young children are very open, and sometimes we're told different things where it's like, no, you don't feel that, and things like your own intuition may not be cultivated when you're young. And so as I got older, I just kept seeing, and then I finally started embracing my gifts. And it really wasn't until, gosh, the year 2000, I moved to Oahu from California. And when I made that move, at that time, I was a wedding photographer. And
No way.
so people may know me over there as Debbie Friedrich, and I was Debbie Friedrich Photography, and I photographed many, many weddings. And I was blessed with the name Keao. I was blessed with it from Kahulahela and Geraldine Camarillo, and it was, they consulted, and it's part of a longer Hawaiian name. And when I really started to embrace my gifts and just talking to people, I started to feel more confident and comfortable in sharing, what I'm able to see and how I'm able to connect with the animals. And actually, I started with people first.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it wasn't a business that I had. It wasn't a full time, you know, um,
Career.
business for me, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I started with people first, and then their pets would come in, their animals would come in, and I would acknowledge the animals. And then it just evolved, and actually moved away from Hawaii. And then I was asked to be part of a television program, Monica the Medium,
Oh, okay.
just to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
appear on there. And being amongst a lot of other seers and mediums. There wasn't an animal communicator on there. And somebody asked, well, who do we go to for animal communication? And people that knew me said, oh, Keao does. And that's when it just really, really, I embodied it. It took off. And that's when I realized I wanted to dedicate my gifts to the animals, because when I was working with the people, the humans, the animals were, there was an urgency there. And I really felt that.
Um,
And I also saw the deep healing and connection that occurred when I was able to deliver those messages from the animals, from the pets to the humans. And once I made that choice and that decision, everything just fell into place and took off.
and and there's so much in that I want to unpack, but just to share with you and to our listeners how what you said as far as there's deep healing in the connections between pets and animals, I wanted to share real quickly about how our experience with you was did that exact thing for us. And so, as I mentioned in the intro, that Natto, who normally is very calm and laid back, is like several nights in a row. It's always like very at this random time at night she would get really panicky and start to shiver and shake and try, and she's talking, making all these weird noises at me and like pawing at me and clawing at me, and we just were like, is she sick? Something wrong? And we took her to the vet and they said, she checks out fine. It seems like she's okay. Maybe she ate something bad. So when we reached out to you, Keao, and you shared with us that she was connecting to me and wanting to tell me like, hey, something's wrong with you, like not necessarily medically but just like emotionally and stuff, and she wants me to be aware of it and to kind of take ownership of it and deal with it. And Keao didn't know, but I have clinical depression and anxiety, and I've only learned to understand that I have that in recent past 3 or 4 years. So I think all of these years of my life, I've gotten so used to just if something's bothering me or affecting me, I just you know pack it down and don't even recognize it. So to the point now, as an adult, you know, Jamie, my wife, will sometimes tell me like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing's wrong." She's like, "You seem like there's like the way you're talking and the way you're acting, like something's wrong." And I'm like, I feel totally fine. I don't, maybe something's wrong with you. And then sure enough, after through string of events and things, we'll come to find out like, actually, I'm really struggling with something, or I'm starting to go on a downward spiral in my depression, or starting to get anxious about something. But because I'm so not used to being able to recognize it, it's I don't find out till it's bad. And so ever since our reading with you, Kao, whenever these little episodes come up with Natto, which is far less now, but when on the occasion that does, I'll have a conversation with her. I'll say like,
Good.
"Hey, I know something's like, do you see something's wrong with me? I feel fine. Like I don't know what's about. Like I think I'm okay." And it'll actually calm her down. But then, sure enough, we'll find out like a day later, like, oh, I'm holding into a lot of
Mm,
emotional problems right now,
mm,
and it the way we find out is I have a long walk with my wife Jamie, and we talk about it and just say, "Is there anything going on?" And at first I'll be like, "I think everything's good, nothing's wrong." And then, sure enough, as we start to peel away the layers, it's like, "Oh, and then this is going on, and then this happened, and then I'm starting to think about this." And she's like, "This sounds like a lot of stuff. Like, I think this is the source of your problems." And so without that session with you, Cal, I don't think we would have had this understanding. And it's really brought me and Nato so much closer. Like, I feel so much more of an understanding. She seems to like seem much more connected. Like it's just even in her eye contact with me. It's a really special thing. So thank you, and I hope others listening can understand through my short story, or kind of long now, but like what you meant by the statement of like creating stronger connections and healing between humans and their pets.
I love that you shared that. And I love that you're talking about this because so many people are in a place like you are and nobody's talking about it. And so when we, as you do, beautifully share your experience, then give so many people permission to also share theirs. And yes, our animals feel us. They
Hmm.
feel, as you know, and I love bringing light to that because people don't realize that the animals are very in tune with us. Some people do, but some people don't realize, yes, they will feel when you're stressed, when you're sad, of course, when you're happy. And Natto was like, it was your little emotional meter there. And yeah, that
do you,
was that.
do you have an explanation for why animals in particular have that deep connection to us emotionally? Like, you know, it I believe it, but is there any kind of explanation as to why or where that connection comes from?
You know, um, animals are so present and
Hmm.
pure energy, and you know that they give unconditional love. They have no filter. And
Hmm.
so when we invite the animals into our home and we establish that relationship, that love, that connection, they become in tune with us. And
Hmm.
so they understand when we are feeling not, um, you know, would be normal for them. Animals will also not only wake you up during the night or, prompt you while you're driving, they will also do things that are not favorable because they
Hmm.
want the humans to get out of a mood or they want attention. They're very, very intelligent. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still working on that with Nato because she's too smart for her own good many of the times, and she's very vindictive. Like she lashes out in the form of leaving tiny little pee puddles around the house, and that's her way of when she's either not getting the kind of attention she wants or something she's not getting fed enough or something. But we have had many a discussion about this. It's like an angry teen, she's
Well,
lashing
and
out.
I want to acknowledge that too. So you know her language,
Yeah.
her mannerisms. You are very connected, and that's something that I love to do within each session is confirm
Mm.
for my clients. You are connecting with your animals. They are hearing you. We even speaking to them verbally, as you have come to find, they understand. So when we speak to the animals, we're projecting an image for them. And then when we
Ah.
have the intention behind it or an emotion behind it, it lands with them and they receive it. I've had great, great success with many different behavior issues with animals by just sharing that with the clients to talk to their animals. And not only that, but the pets will repeat things back to me that they've heard the humans say. And it,
Oh
it
yeah.
blows me away every time.
Have you ever had it where they said something that kind of like you're embarrassed to hear, like, "Oh, don't tell me that, animal."
No,
Okay.
no, no. They got your back.
Oh,
They
good.
they got your back. And yes, no. It's yeah, no, that has not happened yet.
That's
Yeah,
good
that
because
has
I
not
I
happened
was
yet.
starting to worry there for a second. Like, what else did Nato tell you?
Do you know people will sometimes hesitate to reach out to me because they're afraid of what their animals are going to say.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
can
oh
totally.
my gosh, they're going to say, you are so bad at
Yeah,
walking me,
yeah,
or
yeah.
I don't get fed in a timely fashion. Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that generally animals, their whole thing is to protect you, and they've got your back, so they're not going to talk stink about you. If you're listening out there, you can rest easy. At least with KL, I don't know. Maybe they
You're
might say
right.
something to somebody
You're
else. Yeah.
You know what? You're absolutely right. So for me, I set an intention before each session. There's a purpose for doing this. Sometimes when people reach out, like, I'm just curious. I just want to see what they have to
Hmm.
say. What I always say before each session is this is going to be like a conversation with your animals, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm an animal communicator. That doesn't mean that I am the one doing all the talking. I'm listening.
Right.
That's the main part of my job, that I get to do, is listen to the animals. And when I listen by the way they communicate with me is they will project images through telepathy. So I get mental images in my head. And that's when I was talking about when I was young, when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
I would always get those images, and I would know things. And I just thought everybody saw that way. Um, so they will project images through telepathy. They will also impress upon my body what they are feeling. And this is extremely valuable for animals who are in pain. Or I work with vets also. They can't find a source of what's going on with the animal. I
Yeah.
am not a vet. I have no, practice in that whatsoever. However, I can tell you what the animal is feeling and exactly where.
See,
And
that helps because as humans, when we go to the doctor, a lot of the ways
yes,
doctors figure it out is they say, "Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here?" Like, what are you
yes,
feeling? And we can tell them. But for our animals, they just look the way they look, which is something's not right. And that's all we can go off some of the
you're
times.
right. And
Yeah.
and the human knows. Just a side note, I refer to, I don't call pet owners or the animal's owner. I call it their human. So that's my language. Um, but as the humans know that there's something going on, something's not right. They feel it, they see it, and then they'll go to the vet, or they'll reach out and just something's not right with my dog. What do you think it is? And or are they communicating anything to you? I just had for the first time, like I said, I do work with vets,
Hmm.
but I had for the first time, I work with them through the client. For the first
Gotcha.
time last week, I had a session where my client was in the vet's office while her dog was receiving acupuncture. And
Hmm.
I know I had my dog receiving acupuncture before, and I know you wait with them, and it's about a 30-minute, 45-minute wait. And I just thought it was just her and I in the room with the vet. Well, excuse me, with her dog. And the dog immediately, before I was able to give my spiel of how this was going to work, was letting us know I'm having pain and it feels hot underneath my right rib. This dog had some bowel issues going on. The dog was letting us know whenever it bent down to eat, it wasn't eating. Its left bottom jaw was throbbing. And turns out the doctor was in the room the whole time.
Oh,
And I think he was a little skeptical. And
right.
so after that, she's on her phone. She turns the phone. He introduced himself and he said, "Is there anything else I need to know?" And from that session, the dog's gallbladder was inflamed, which is
Oh,
under the
wow.
right rib. She had 11 teeth extracted, but
Oh
yet
my
there
gosh.
was something going on in that bottom left jaw still.
Hmm.
And she was severely, she had like fecal impaction.
Oh,
Yeah. So
so
it
like
was like in real time receiving back the confirmations of what she was communicating.
that is so crazy. And I gotta believe that a lot of vets probably initially start off very skeptical, like this one would. And but to see the proof in the pudding, there, it's like, yeah,
Right.
you don't have to know how it works, but just that it works, you know?
You're right. And I believe a lot of vets, doctors, a lot of people in that profession are also very intuitive.
Mm,
I,
yeah.
I, I know they are. I know I know a lot of people in the medical industry, and however, right now I don't think that for mainstream it's not um, common and widely accepted
Yeah.
for them to say so.
Of course.
And so some of my clients will tell me straight out, "Okay, I'm going to take my dog in. I know you said her bottom tooth is aching, but my vet's not going to believe this."
Yeah.
And I will say, no worries. Just let them know. I just say, you
Mm.
feel like your dog is having pain in the tooth. Can you check this out?
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my question about you had mentioned that, in your gifts you recognized them early as a child and you would receive images. When that happened, as normal as you thought it was at the time, was it just that um, beings or animals were trying to tell you something, or were you seeking out like what? I guess I'm trying to understand the you receiving these images and messages. Is it something that you were seeking out, or they were just saying, "Hey, there's someone that we recognize can receive it. Let's send it to her."
It was more like when people talk to me, I would see the images of whatever they were
Oh,
saying. And to this day, is what I thought, this is how we communicate. I
yeah,
just
yeah.
thought. But when I was, I think my youngest very solid experience was when I was young. I just saw like a future vision of myself. I was 9. I was really, really sad. And I just knew in my heart that when I reached a certain age, I was going to be very, very happy. And there were some other details in there. And it happened. And it's not
Wow.
like, I waited that whole time, but, and then I would just have a very, very strong sense of things either going to happen, or my own instinct and intuition was, don't get in that car, don't go this way, things like that. And again, when people would talk to me, I would see, their energy, their
Hmm.
timeline. I could see where they might be stuck in, and why. And it's not something that say, hey, I know why you're, really upset. And, but it was something I just kind of kept to myself until I really started, people knew what I was capable of doing and these gifts. And so I just started talking to people. And, um, it when we lived in Hawaii, there was a time when we moved into this house, and it was okay. We can have a dog.
Hmm.
And once we opened up that I don't know channel, that opening, my dog Toby came into my vision, and he showed himself so clearly. He's gray and white. He showed his purple skin like on his belly with an urgency of come find me. And it
So
was
this
just
is before
so
you'd ever met Toby. This is
before I ever
just
saw him,
yeah.
before I ever saw him. And I had visions of other animals before that people would actually get.
Mm.
And I have kept dream journals for years and years and years. So I have this documented as well. And so I wrote it down and didn't go exploring and finding him. And then I had a dream again, maybe like a week later, and he pounced on me, and his tongue was out and he was happy and it was just joy. And he's like, come find me. And I sat up in bed. It was one of those dreams that was just so real. Well, anyway, my daughters and I go to the Hawaiian Humane Society, and we're looking, and at the very last mm, enclosure there he was. There he was. And I knew it. We locked eyes, and I thought, oh my gosh, is this you? And he was just mangled and just, my daughters are going, him? He's a terrier mix. And
Yeah.
he, anyway, he really, really was instrumental in helping me to realize the gifts of connecting with the animals. And there was just
Mm.
such a familiarness between him and I. And he stayed with us. He for 17 years. He was 18 years old.
Wow.
He just passed in May,
Oh,
this past May.
sorry to hear that.
And he was always by my side. I'm pointing down here on the ground with each
Mm.
session. I know he was instrumental in helping me, connect. And he was just my little sidekick for all those years and saw me through embodying this fully the gift of animal communication.
Yeah. The other common question I'm sure you get is like, even as the animals have passed, do you still connect with them? And so, if so, have you still been able to keep in touch with Toby?
Yes, yes. I do connect with the animals that have crossed over. One of the things that my business has really evolved into, I help people when they come to that place that I call before the bridge. And
Mm.
that is helping my clients when their pets are getting ready to, cross over that rainbow bridge, as a lot of people call it. And we're able to connect with the animals and whatever wishes they have. And then after, I am able to connect still with them. And it's for me, the best way to explain it is we're still connected to their energy. Energy never dies. They're not here in the physical
Right.
anymore, but we are still connected. And so, yes, I do, in different ways, still connect with Toby.
That's neat.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned like when you were 9, you kind of made that, not decision, but it was decided that you would kind of put these gifts away
Mm.
and hide. What was the reason behind it? Because I know you said you thought up until then everybody thinks this way, but then you, I guess, realized that no, this was different. What was it about that, switch, that caused you to feel like it was something that you needed to put away or hide?
I think it's because I felt so different.
Uh huh.
And, as you're growing and kids are not kind sometimes. And it was, my gifts were acknowledged. They were always acknowledged by my parents, but it wasn't something that we talked about. So I'm
Mm.
grateful for that.
Was it something that is this something that is, for lack of a better term, genetic? Like, was it something that your parents had as well, or how do you understand this gift? As is it just kind of random, beings have that gift, or is it something that's maybe passed down from
You know
generations?
what? It definitely can be, through epigenetics, and it definitely can be. My father was very connected and saw in his own way, and my mother is very intuitive as well, and her mother is very intuitive.
I see.
Neither one, and I don't know of anybody else in my family who has the gifts, probably as clear as I do, or as strong as I do. And I want to say, though, everybody has a gift, like this to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
I am attuned and to receive it clearly. And I also worked at it. It is like a muscle. So the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. I also had to get confident in what I was
Mm.
receiving, because just like I help my clients realize that they are communicating with their animals, when you get in your head and question something, you kind of
Yeah.
lose the feeling, because we're always connecting through the heart,
Right.
you
Right.
know? Um, so, yeah, I don't know
As
where I was going with that.
Yeah. And is it all animals, or
Yeah.
certain types of animals that connect?
So I've connected with many different animals. I have to say, again, when I was in Hawaii, it was before I was leaving, and I was so sad. I was just so sad to leave the islands, and Oh my gosh, it was really devastating for me. And I connected with a whale.
Oh wow.
I
Holy
connected
smokes.
with a whale, and I have this picture to prove it too. So here's what happened. I connected with the whale even before then, and the whale is one of my amakuas, and I would see the whale, the eye, the like the blubber around the eye, and just the detail. I mean, just so much detail of this whale. And I had just finished a wedding, I think at Kualoa Ranch. And it was the last wedding I was going to do I thought, on the islands. And I'm driving, um, I forgot, is it Kalaniani Ole Highway? I took the long way.
Oh, then
And
yeah.
I took the long way.
Hmm.
So I could just be. And I'm passing uh, the like Hawaii Kai, Coco Head. I'm passing,
Uh-huh.
and what's before that? It's not blowhole. I forgot the proper term, and I apologize to
So,
everybody.
were you like around
Makapu'u.
Makapu? Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Passing Makapu'u, and I'm asking, please give me a sign to let me know that it's going to be okay, and that I'm going to be okay, because I was so, so sad. And I look over, and there's, of course, a rainbow, and there was a whale that had breached. And I thought, no way. And I turn in there to that outlook area, and I had my camera gear still intact. And I said, please come up again. And it did. And it did. And it was just so amazing. And I know I have the picture to prove it. But I know people get their own signs too. But anyway, meant so much. After that, I asked, I'm in San Diego, so I'm still near the ocean. I received a message from the whale saying that the oxygen in the ocean is being depleted. And this was years ago. And I never said anything until I asked a scientist friend of mine, and he said, yes, it is. It
Wow.
is. I've connected with the gorillas at the zoo. I've connected with orangutans. And it's a very, very different type of communication and connection. It's a
How so?
very, very different. It feels different to me. There's a deep, deep reverence for the animals in that, I guess, wild animals
Mm.
like that. Um, it's it feels different, and there isn't like a two-way communication like with pets. It's more of a, is there anything that you would like me to know, or is there anything that you would like the humans to know? I can't explain. It just feels so different.
Wow.
Hmm.
That's so interesting. But it makes sense that they are different because they're totally different type of creatures and personalities and environments
Right,
that they're in, right?
right, right.
Well, you said that you were really devastated to have to leave Hawaii. Why did you leave Hawaii if you were, so sad to leave it?
Uh, Work, husband's
Oh,
work brought
oh, okay.
us back here.
Yeah. So you said you came over, previous to that. So what was your connection to Hawaii prior to moving here? Is Hawaii significant to you and your family prior to moving here?
It was not in this lifetime.
Oh, okay.
It was not in this lifetime. I have I think it goes way back, my connection there.
Yeah.
I felt it.
So was it the move to Hawaii when you did live here, was that because of work as well?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how long were you here for?
5 years.
Okay.
5 years. And then I kept coming back, and people kept bringing me back to do weddings. And then that change to coming back to get filled up and then coming back to connect in a different way. And so I've remained connected in
Wow.
that way.
And you mentioned that you were given your name here. What was
Hmm.
the story behind that, and how did that come about?
It's such a beautiful, sacred gift that was given to me through Kahulahela, Jerlyn Camarillo, and they consulted other somebody else as well, just to make sure it's respectful, and so the my full name is Kapua Mohala Keao, which means the flower that blossoms from the light within.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and so that's that's a beautiful, beautiful gift.
And
So
was it something that through any kind of particular thing that inspired this them to give you this gift? Was it through work being done, or?
yes, yes, it's just really being seen,
Hmm.
and it they saw an evolution as well, and
Oh.
yes, I did. I During that time when I was going back and forth, I also took healing classes and just really started to learn and evolve and take just different courses to see and help me navigate,
Mm.
these gifts. I took, oh gosh, it was so long ago. I took a feng shui course from Alice Inoue, and I
Yeah.
took Lomi Lomi healing from Kumu Karen, and just just all of these things that just really helped me personally to open, release layers so that I can fully embody these gifts and receive them in a way that I was not questioning them.
And how did you come to that point in your life where you were able to recognize that this is something you wanted to unwrap after keeping it, kept away for so long, and to really pursue this to the point where you're doing these trainings and really trying to hone this gift that you had kept away for so long? Was there a particular incident that kind of sparked
It
that for you?
it was my dog.
Oh, that was the first
It
time
was
that.
my dog that it was. I I mean, it's just almost unbelievable. It was Toby that really was so instrumental,
Oh.
and then it was for me. It was having the confirmation and the validation from other people of receiving. I like to say I'm evidence based, so
Hmm.
I want evidence that what I'm receiving from the animals is true.
Yeah.
Because people are skeptical, and I really value and honor these gifts. So it was when, in a consistent manner, that people were confirming messages that I was receiving from the animals, from the pets, that really helped to move forward with it,
Hmm.
for a way to just dedicate, these gifts to them.
Yeah. Forgive me if these are silly or dumb questions, but I figure this might be helpful for others as well who might be wondering the same thing. So, from what I've understood, is that our physical life here on this world is all we understand. But when you
Mm.
go to the spiritual world, like it's a totally different ball game, essentially. But knowing that you're able to communicate to pets who have passed and are now in a spiritual form, or and knowing that there are people, and you've said yourself that you've also been able to connect with humans as well. Does that mean that when humans and their pets have passed, that they are able to, because this is people ask all the time, like, will I ever see them again? Like, are they able to reconnect after they've passed, when they're both kind of in that world?
Yes. It's
Oh,
a great
nice.
question. It's a great question. Yes. When we have this confirmed over and over, um, that's one of the things where people are really, really sad, and it's hard to release their pets because they want to know, are they going to be alone? Are they
Hmm.
going to be okay? And if you have any other pets on the other side, any other humans on the other side, you have that tethered connection through the heart also.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be greeted in your energetic form. You will be greeted. And this, again, it's proven over and over and over. I had a woman ask me, uh, is there anybody with my dog that has passed away? And the dog showed a male's hands working, like just weathered hands and really thick glasses. And she said, that's my uncle so and so, and he had macular degeneration, and
Oh, wow.
he, was a farm worker, and he loved animals. And and then there's also the people who have pets on the other side that still have that connection with you. And sometimes it goes far back to when you're young, or
Oh,
it could
wow.
be, yes, somebody else. I just had a recent session. This woman had 3 cats who were in spirit, and one came through, and I just saw fluff and white. And she goes, yes, she was a Persian. I said, oh, this is beautiful. This is her. Yes, she's there. And then there was another one, all black, more, I think he was more like indoor, outdoor. Yes, that's so and so. Then another one was coming through. And I said, um, it had a marking on its face by its mouth. And she kept saying no. And when she said no, it was clearer. And I said, I'm seeing two-tone. She said, no, no. And then I said calico. And she goes, oh my gosh, that was my dad's cat from
Oh,
years and years ago. And so that I explained, there, it's connected to you. And this cat's
hmm.
like, hey, what's going on here? That
Yeah.
energy. And I'm here too.
And with this, do you know if pets can come back in other forms? Like, I've heard before something like, oh, after, our pet passed, later on we got another pet, and it's like it's as if there's pieces of our previous one in there. Is there any accuracy to that, or do you understand how it all works? Like, do they come back into other forms?
They do. So
Okay.
reincarnation is real.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely can come back. Um, is my belief, not as human or any other form other than an animal. I don't know. This is not my expertise here.
Mm.
Now, again, because I'm so evidence based, and I know
Yeah.
there's just so many people who are skeptical, and I never want to give false hope either.
Mm-hmm.
So if I always refer back to the client. If you feel like this is your dog who, gets that ball and brings it, to you, and, does its own quirky things like your other dog, then
Yeah.
yes, that would be. And I have felt, there's just a feeling there. I have felt that, but they bring it up. I don't, because you could tell everybody, oh yeah, that's your dog, that's your
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But you're
And
right,
how
they can come back.
and how you mentioned that the when you're doing, say, a session with someone like me, that the pets come through to you. And I'm sure this, so what I've understood as I learn more about connections and things, it's doesn't make sense from our physical world, because from what we know, because it's a totally different kind of situation and ballgame. But is it a matter of that the pets know, hey, I can sense Keao is going to go talk to Nolan. Like, I'm going to go come connect. Or do you reach out and say, hey, you know, dog, I'm going to be talking to your human. If you want to come over, like, is it like, how does the connection work, I guess?
So when people book a session, I ask for the animal's name and type of animal. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Before the session, I have a pad of paper and I write down their name. Names carry a vibration. And so I'm
Oh.
already sometimes starting to receive any information from that animal through your intention of booking the session, through the
Mm-hmm.
animal's knowing, and through their name.
Oh.
I don't, people like to send photos beforehand. I don't ask for them. I do like the way animals project themselves as well. And so most of the time, if the animals are there and are able, they will come into the room when we're having a session.
Ah.
And was that your
As you
dog?
say that, Natto's like, hey, you're talking about me.
That's hilarious. She's like, yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I should be in the room
I
too.
yeah, she wouldn't come up earlier, so I shut the door and now
That's
she's outside.
hilarious. Yes. Um, so so they know they're having a session. That's so funny. If the animal has done something not favorable, they will
Mhm.
also leave the room. Yes. And so often there's something about either the connection, my voice, the animals at the end of the session have fallen asleep.
Yeah. Is that because they're just like so comfortable with like,
Yes.
okay, the burden's off of me. I'll let
Yes.
Auntie Kale talk for me.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned your husband. Did he? And if this isn't appropriate to ask, just let me know. But did he know? Did he know you before you started accepting and embracing these gifts, or was this something he had to learn as you were starting to grow with it?
Um, he did. I kind of kept it hidden
Oh,
from
really?
him as well.
So
Yeah.
was that like kind of a surprise for him as you started to go through your journey?
At the time that we were together, not, I don't think it was a surprise. He knew.
Oh,
He knew. We didn't really talk
interesting.
about it either. You
Yeah.
know, we didn't really talk about it, but he knew. He knew. There was a lot of support as well. There was a lot of support when I made that transition
Mm-hmm.
from, you know, photographer to
Because
to
that's quite a transition, right?
yes,
From the
it was
outside looking in, yeah, it looks
you're
like
right.
wow.
It was a
Yeah,
transition for other people. But if you knew
yeah.
me, you knew.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm,
knew me, you knew what, that I had these gifts. If you were a friend of
yeah.
mine, if you knew. So, yeah.
So with this, do you ever have situations where maybe say someone that you know hasn't reached out to you, but maybe their animal has reached out to you and said, "Hey, I need you to pass this message along." Like, do you have that kind of connection where they know that you have a human connection for them that they could try to reach out to say, "Hey, can you
Do
tell my
you
human this?"
only if I have connected with the animal before?
I see.
Sometimes, and it has happened,
Interesting.
they'll pop in, and for me, it's either a dream or I have a vision of them. It's
Mm.
almost like we've established a connection, and so the animals will know. that they can reach out and connect with me. And it has happened. And I will reach out to my client, your dog. Reached. I'm using dog because it happened. There was a dog named Urban.
Huh.
He reached out, and he's like a cattle dog mix. So I knew without a shadow of a doubt it was him. Very unique features. I reached out to his human, and she goes, "Oh my gosh. Just yesterday, I told him, if there's anything wrong, you tell the lady." And he did. And so he booked, I did, it was like, this is on me. We
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to know what Urban needed, what was so urgent. And there was, there was just a mild argument with her and maybe her spouse. There was changes going on. He was concerned. He's very anxious. And so
Mm,
she gave him that permission, and
yeah.
he did.
Wow.
Fascinating. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yes. But to answer your question, other than clients, I have very, very good boundaries to
Mm,
where I'm not walking down the street and connecting with all,
yeah.
the dogs or anything like that, because um, again, for me, this is a conversation, and you wouldn't just go,
Yeah.
chatting with everybody.
Hey,
I mean,
stranger in the corner, tell me your life story.
right. Right. Sometimes, though, if somebody's with their dog and I'm around, I will feel something. The animal's like, oh, hey,
Mm.
I will feel something. But for the most part, I have very good boundaries.
So, how many years have you been doing this, and can you estimate about how many pets you've connected with up
Oh,
until now?
I have no idea, Nolan.
I I,
I have
I assume
no
so, but I thought I'd
idea.
try.
There's so many.
On average, how many sessions would you say you have in a given month? Like, is it pretty crazy?
You know what? It really varies. It varies. I am available most of the time, Monday through Friday. I
Hmm.
do have time slots in there that are dedicated to readings, and then other than that is the 'cause I wear all the hats. Running your
Yeah,
own
right.
business, wearing all the hats. Um, Gosh, I haven't even counted yet.
Yeah,
I have
I'm sure
I
it's
have
just
no
like,
idea. I have
well,
no
how many
idea, but
years have you been
I
doing
keep
this?
pretty busy.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think professionally, I would say about 15 years.
Wow. And do you still do photography as well, or that's completely out the door
I
now?
That's never left. I still get great pleasure in photographing. And these days, with our iPhones or with our phones, whatever phone you have, they take amazing pictures. I
Hmm.
love to document. I will still see, beauty in nature, and of course, people. And so I still photograph almost every day because
Oh, wow.
it brings me joy. I do not photograph weddings or anything like that, though.
And as far as what you enjoy the most is, doing these connections and such for those who are unaware of, how this works. I know because I did a session with you, but for new potential clients, how does a session work? How does a connection with their pet? Um, what's involved in that?
So during a session, you can expect to have that conversation with your animals as well. And it's usually for a purpose. Um, I always have people come prepared with questions for their pets. Are they okay? Why are they doing certain behaviors? I work with a lot of rescue animals, and they will. most often project what their life was like before.
Mm.
Um, and then we connect with the animals who are, the senior animals, the animals who are ailing, the animals who are getting ready to cross over. There's so many reasons to have a session. And so during that session, again, I ask that they come prepared with questions for the animals. Um, and the animal will give their answer, and then it becomes a three-way conversation.
And this is all virtually, correct?
It's all virtual. I use Zoom. I encourage all of my clients to record their sessions, and I also encourage the spouse, the family, the bestie to be present, because it really helps sometimes when there's something maybe you didn't think of, or it helps because the animal is a part of your life and your family.
Yeah. And the thing that was really easy for me when I booked with you is I didn't even meet you before I booked. It was just off of somebody saying, "Oh, check out Keao, look her up," and then I found your website, and on there you can just schedule, the session, and you have different options of how long and such, and you could see your calendar of availability and just book it right
Mm-hmm.
there, which is so convenient for me because I think if it was a matter of kind of the old school way, if it was like, here, send me an email and I'll get back to you to try to schedule something, I would be like, yeah, that's okay. That sounds like a lot of back and forth. Whereas this one is like, oh, next week, whatever day and time, okay, I'll be there. So that I think has been is really cool that you have available, and on your website has a lot of frequently asked questions answered and things. So it was really helpful just to go, okay, this is not something I'm that I do every day. So the fact that it was so easy and accessible made the choice simple for me to do.
I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm so grateful for all the ways we can connect now.
Yeah. Did you find that the
Yes.
pandemic actually like helped increase business for you because video calls and stuff were such the norm because of that?
Not only that, but everybody got a pandemic pet.
Oh,
so,
yeah, that's true.
so my business really took off,
Yeah.
It was really busy. And so yes, that did help. I use a Zoom platform, and I started using Zoom before Zoom became exploded during the
Hmm.
pandemic. But like I said, everybody got a pet, a companion during that time. And my business does run through word of mouth. I do share stories and things like that on Instagram,
Hmm.
but people sharing their experience, that's like yourself,
Hmm.
because like, what do you mean she can talk to animals, and people sharing, and that really helps. As you know, word of mouth in any business is amazing, but that really
Hmm.
helps for people to take that step to go to the website and book.
Yeah, I don't know if this is already in your plans, but I'm just like in hearing, especially with your personality too, and in your experience working on television before, I feel like you would make a great. What you do would be great for television, like having a show. Like me and Jamie are hooked on Tyler. I forgot his last name, but the
Henry.
Hollywood Medium, right?
Yes, yes.
And it's not that we're like so absolutely entertained by these connections that he has, because it's like, really, is it real? It's more of the stories that come from it. Those
Yes.
connections open up the stories, and I just feel like in hearing, in talking with you and stuff, that's what you are about, is unearthing these stories and getting these connections um, strengthened through that. And I think that would make such a fantastic show. Like you could be like the celebrity pet connector, you know?
I appreciate you saying that. That would be great. I am so open to that. Um, I have one of the side things I do is I get invited to, there's gifting suites here in LA for the Grammys, for the Oscars, for Golden Globes. And I spend a weekend up in LA in Hollywood and read for the celebrities
No
before the,
way.
yes, before the events. And I mean, it's fun to do. I've been doing it probably, gosh, I think for the past 5 years.
So wait,
It's fun to
explain to me what a
do.
gifting suite is, because I have an idea of what it is, but I'm sure people are like, wait, what's a
I
gifting
know.
suite?
Hold on, hold on. A
Yeah.
gifting suite is a um, it's an event for celebrities. It's kind of like celebrating the celebrity, the people who've been nominated or
Hmm.
contributed, and you know, for the Globes, for the Oscars, and you go and you share your business, your product, what you do, and they get photographed, and you may be, you know, talked about in a, I don't know, in a magazine or whatever,
Yeah.
and I do it because it's fun,
Hmm.
and I don't, I'm not very, I don't get starstruck very often, but it's just I just do it because it's fun. It's like these little 5 minute readings, and they're little speed readings, and I
Yeah.
love that too.
How did you get involved in that?
I was invited.
And how did that happen? Was it just a client
I
of
gave a
yours?
reading to a client that then shared with somebody running one of these suites, had a reading with her, and was invited.
That's so cool.
Hmm.
I know you said you don't often get starstruck, but has there been one where you're like, maybe not starstruck, but where you're like, that was special. Like, this is really cool.
Do you know, this is so funny. So there's a woman that she's an entrepreneur. Her name is Marie Forleo.
Oh,
I have been
yes. Okay. I know her very
her,
well. Yeah. Oh
her.
my gosh.
Do you know? This is just so funny because I mean, Viola Davis comes through and Danny Glover and Sharon Stone and, you know,
Right.
I don't know, all these people, and it's like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
yay, nice to meet you, you know, very nice to meet you. And
Yeah.
some people I don't even know, and
Hmm.
I'm sitting there and I look up, I think it was for the Globes, and I mean, not, you have to be invited, you're vetted, you know, to come to these events. You
Yeah.
can't just walk in, and it's security everywhere. And I
Hmm.
look up, and there's Josh Pius, her boyfriend, and
Uh-huh.
then there's Marie. And do you know? I'm just sitting there waiting, and I stood up, and I'm like, "Holy, that's Marie Forleo!" And I just got so excited, and nobody knew who she was. I was just, I mean, that was my moment, it just cracks me up because, you know, well, you know her. We learned
Yeah.
so much, you know,
Yep.
from her.
You've
We
done
learned
so
so
many of her
much.
courses and followed her
Right.
groups
She's
and
been
stuff. Yeah.
instrumental in my entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
So I read for her and Joss
Oh,
and
that's
their
so
dog,
cool.
Kuma, I think. Yeah.
Oh, my wife Jamie's gonna be so tickled by that. She would
Oh,
have the same
good.
reaction. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, kind of geeky.
No, but that's that's why I think we have a good connection. I feel like we are kind of cut from similar cloths. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
Okay, so if and when you get television series, just don't forget
Oh,
about where you first, it was incarnated here, okay?
I will. I will remember. We shall document it. Monday, October 24th, 2022.
Yes, I've got the tapes to prove it.
That's
So,
right.
so aside from this, what do you have do you have anything coming up that you are excited about, or even if it's unrelated to communication that you're like getting into, like any kind of new hobbies, like anything that's really getting you excited and jazzed up right now?
You know what? I'm very, very excited to write and pull together all the stories to
Oh,
help
cool.
people for the end of life. The book is called Before the
Mm,
Bridge.
wow.
I'm very excited about it. I knew that was another vision. I knew when I was little that I would be creating a book. I knew it was going to be about animals, but I thought it was going to be about monkeys. But I'm really excited about this to be able to put this together, have that book out. There's something else brewing. I don't know. It's like it's a gathering we're going to have. I don't know if it's weekly or monthly for everybody who's grieving to come together, share story, talk story. I
Hmm.
did get certified as a grief educator also because I needed that for myself.
Oh, wow.
I was in anticipatory grief for about 2 years with my beloved dog Toby, and I needed that because I didn't know who I was going to be without him,
Oh, wow.
and I, I just yes, I was already feeling that tremendous loss, and I needed to understand these feelings, and I needed um, also to be able to have a deeper language to help my clients through this as well. And so I'm excited to, bring that to fruition as well.
That's going to be so helpful. And I I'm not a reader, but I know that this is a book that I would definitely need to read because I mean, my dogs are still relatively young and yet I feel like especially because I have anxiety, like I deal with the fear and the expectation of loss like almost every week, like
Right.
and it's so early, but I can only imagine how difficult it's going to be, when that time comes. But to have your stories and help and your help, I think that's going to make such a difference for a person like myself. So, have you started writing it
I
already? Is it
have.
wow?
I
So, how when do you
have.
anticipate it coming out?
Oh, that's a good question. I know
Let's make a date right now.
if I say it, then I'll have to do it.
Yeah. We're all like, when can we get this book? Because I guarantee that so many people need this
Yes.
this
We'll
book.
say spring of 2023.
Okay, hey, I could do
We'll
that.
say spring,
Yeah.
yes. Now, in the meantime, I do share little clips and stories on my Instagram, Love to Connect, love number two, connect
Okay.
on Instagram. So I do have a lot of people going there and just, sharing. We all learn
Yeah.
and heal when we hear other people's stories.
That's great. I just sent my follow request to you this morning, so I'm excited to
Oh,
catch up on all of those videos because I think that's also going to be so helpful to just having that kind of conversation going on will help with a lot of education, but also, I feel already just a calming sense of knowing that these uncomfortable, scary thoughts that are in my head, now we can just discuss about it, hear others and their experiences, and hear your through your training. I feel like
yeah.
it's going to be so helpful for me. So I'm
I
excited about
love
that.
that you say that because that's what I've learned in doing the sessions and connecting with the animals and especially during that time because as you articulate it, as you express it, then that fear, that ball of energy that's inside of
Yeah.
you that causes anxiety is able to lessen a little bit and release from your body.
Yeah, that I am a huge believer in because, as I said, a lot of the times when I'm even subconsciously dealing with things, the most impactful and healing thing has been when me and my wife just go on a walk and we just talk.
Yes.
And I grew up a only child, and to a single mom, so I spent a lot of time by myself. So
Mm,
I got so used to just having conversations just in my head,
right.
and so while I think as an adult, like, yeah, I've thought it through. I'm going through it, like, so I've talked it out. I've realized that saying it and having the conversations in my head is a completely different thing than saying it out loud, which I don't understand why, because I feel like when I hear it in my head, it sounds the same, but I don't know, there's something about hearing it verbalized coming out of my mouth. It totally changes things. It opens perspectives to things that I never thought of. And so, I really am a huge supporter and fan of having these open, outward discussions, and for you to be able to use your platform to encourage that and do that is really awesome. So, my appreciation to you for that.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you are doing that and that you are articulating and verbalizing. And for those that aren't able to do that, if you write, if
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
express in some way, as we're talking about energy a lot throughout this time together, imagining fear and anxiety as like a ball of energy, and there is something that you can do with it. And a lot of times when your animals are anxious or they're having odd behavior, sometimes they can be mirrors for us. So we
Yeah.
look at ourselves like, oh, I'm holding a lot of stress or I'm feeling anxious.
Yeah. Oh, Cal, this has been so awesome. I am so glad that we got connected, and I'm really excited not only for your upcoming book, but I just have a feeling that there's so much amazing work that you're going to continue to do,
Thank
and there's so
you.
much that's coming up that you don't even know you're going to do yet. But I'm so glad that we're connected. How can people get connected with you and learn more and um, you know, aside from this podcast, I'm sure that they're going to want to continue to stay connected with you. So how
Yeah.
can they do that?
So they can go to my website, connectwithkeao, Keao.com, and Instagram. I love Instagram. And the Instagram again is love number two connect.
Super easy, and I'll put the links in our show notes in the description as well. So for those of you who don't want to write this down, don't worry, we'll have it easy for you to connect. But Kal, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this, and thank you so much for helping us and our family,
Oh,
our fur family
I
here. It's
love
just been
it.
so wonderful.
I love it. Thank you, Nolan. This was such a treasure.